guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Yvonne and you have landed on Ginger Chick Rehab, where I love to go treasure hunting, looking for those little treasures, those little items that not necessarily are just resellable on their own, but when you group them together, they make quite a statement. So in today's video, it is still a Christmas season and I am still in Christmas crafting DIY mode. I absolutely love putting little vignettes together for you all. So in today's video, we are going primitive, y'all. If you are a primitive fan, oh, these have my hearts. We're going to be making some trees, putting some items together, and just bringing that homey feel home for the Christmas season. So for my first, we are building a tree. We are doing a simple, primitive looking tree. So I have these fake stems that are greenery. They are in wire, they're bendable. You can pick these up almost anywhere right now this time of year. Dollar Tree, Hobby Lobby, order them off of Amazon. I have an old salvaged doorknob that has a little bit of paint on it, and a little bit of paint doesn't bother me at all. And a dowel rod that fits inside the doorknob. But it's much too long and I'm going to need to cut the dowel rod down. So it was really just a guesstimate on how long I wanted it to be, how tall I wanted it to be, and I'm just using my Japanese saw to cut it. So I don't want it just to look like a piece of wood, just a dowel rod. So I'm going to use some of the Waverly Antiquing wax just to give it a little bit of stain. So I'll just be using some hot glue as my adhesive today, and I'm just going to put a little dab inside that doorknob and stick that dowel back in. So my doorknob wants to roll as I am trying to glue these on. So I'm just going to use my little assistant frame here that I was sent by a viewer, Tracy, that stops round objects from rolling. Perfect for this little doorknob craft. And I'm not going to cut these down at first. I'm not sure. I want it to be pretty full, so I might keep the bottom one the same length. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start to hot glue them on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that glue in place for a couple seconds, and then I'm going to twist it around the back to make sure that it's nice and secure, so you could see that greenery from both sides. And then I'm just going to eyeball my space in between and start layering up, trying to go, remembering to flip the dowel rod over so I'm going all in the same direction. Then now I'm going to go back in and do my measurements. It's a personal choice if you want to cut them before, but since I was going to be twisting them, I know that it was going to change the length on either side just a little bit. So it looks like that I twisted pretty good on that first set, so I'm just going to cut it down by the 1/2 inch, just staggering it all the way up until that top piece gets shorter. And I decided I wanted to put one more piece at that top area, just topping it right off. So I'm just cutting that down to the size that it needs to be, and then I'll glue it into place. Now I get to decorate the tree. So I have some rusty bells that I have been hoarding on since I found them at a yard sale. So I don't have enough to do it on every limb by any means. But I think if I stagger them and I just do every other, it will be cute as a button. And I'm just going to tie them on with a little bit of jute string. So So I actually thrifted this clay star that somebody had painted brown, and I think it'll look beautiful on the top of that tree. And I think at the same sale where I got the bells, I also got some of this wired star, though the wires are going to be like too long, so I'm going to have to cut them. But I think I'm going to go the branches that don't have anything right yet. I'm going to go ahead and get the stars, and then I can kind of fake where the wire goes just to make it look like it is garland going up the tree. But for the first one, I think I can reach from tip to tip and it'll be perfect. Once I added stuff to the front of this, it made it kind of tip heavy, so I had to glue on a piece of bottle brush tree that I took off, but no biggie, at least it's standing straight up and down and we can hide it with this little teddy. Well, I love doing that one so much that I'm going to make another, but I'm going to make a different version. So this one's going to be not just flat. We're going to make this into the tree shape going from all angles. So I found a spool, wooden spool, and then I have a stash of dowel rods that we picked up at an auction. So I have many dowel rods. Same thing though, I found one that fit in the hole. I'm just guesstimating, just eyeballing what I think I want the length to be, and we'll just cut it down with the Japanese saw. And I'm gluing my cut and inside where you don't see it. If I had like already cut on that piece of dowel rod and it didn't have that finish end, I would just sand the end so it was nice and smooth. But I just absolutely loved how that first tree turned out, and I have plenty of these stems to use. So I'm going to start off by using a piece of my cutoff from the first project and make that as my tree topper. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that right on the top, holding it in place until it sets up a bit. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide that dowel rod using some floral tape. So as I work my way down the dowel rod, I'm going to be adding some of these branches in, stems in, and I'm going to just do them randomly, 3 on a side as I work, or 3 on going around as I work my way down. A little bit of hot glue to hold it in place, and then wrapping the brown floral tape on my way down. I'm contemplating making one of the felt wool trees, and so this was kind of my tester piece out to see, because cutting all those strips is kind of time consuming on those wool trees, but they are absolutely beautiful. I just keep repeating the same process all the way down the dowel, adding glue, adding a little piece of the trim, and I actually cut the stems in half when I was doing this. And then, yep, just wrapping it around and then just kind of staggering the stems so the tree will be nice and full once I'm able to bend the branches out. But I'm going to work all the way down and then leave just a little bit of a trunk that I'll cover up with this brown tape also. So now it's time to trim my tree. So I am just eyeballing it, not measuring this at all since they're going in 3 around. I think that I can just visually give it a haircut or a tree cut. So now to trim, aka decorate the tree, I am going to use these cute little stockings and mittens just to hang off random branches on the tree. So then now I'm going to go in and I'm going to add some bigger Rusty Crusty bells. I bought at the same sale. They're just on the bigger side. And it's such a good feeling to use up what I have in my stash, and I don't know how long I've had this wired garland with some bigger stars on it, but I'm going to go ahead and cut the stars off the wire. I'll probably keep the wire because you just never know when that would come in handy. Put it back in that little tote that I had the Rusty Crusty stars in, and remember it will be there. I'm sure I will, but I just want the stars. And then, of course, I want a tree topper. Those stars are a little bit on the heavy side. I'm switching to another one I have in my stash that isn't quite as heavy so it doesn't pull it forward. The base of my tree is just a little bit blasé, so I want to make a little sign. So I got this book at an auction that has all these yummies in it. Apparently they came with CDs, but I didn't get the CDs. All I got was the book. So I'm going to start using some of them because I have them and I just love a little bit of wordage, and I'm actually just going to use the wordage in the middle of this star wreath to make a little sign. At the same auction that I got the book, I also got this metal tin garland. She was quite an artist. I was happy to get some of her supplies. If you all don't follow me over on the Ginger Chick, the Journey channel, where I share my hauls and my adventures of searching for treasures out in the wild, I would love to have you pop over there. That's where you'll see my haul videos. So surprisingly, this tin is rather easy to cut, so I just want to make a little tin sign. So I'm going to go ahead and glue it onto the piece first before cutting it off. That way I'm not wasting too much of this tin. Now I need to poke a couple holes in to be able to string a wire in it. And like I said, I could have found my hole punch, but you know, this worked out as easy using my Cricut grabber and my weeding tool, and then just enlarging the hole. Surprisingly, yes, it's just that easy. See, I said some of that rusty wire would come in handy, though this is off a smaller string of stars. It's just sometimes little pieces like this come in handy. That's why we have the stash that we have. So all I'm going to do is pull it through, and I'm going to bend it around, and I'm going to twist that front wire back together so that it stays in place. So now I'm going to go on to a pair of baby shoes. Who doesn't have a pair of these in their stash, or some of their own children's shoes still? So these ones I got for a couple bucks at a sale, and I thought, oh, they are so sweet. They would be sweet turned into Christmas decor. And then I found this mouse at the Walmart in the Christmas section, 98 cents. Oh my gosh, his ears just had me, his little tail. I'm like, I think I can upcycle him and fit him inside this shoe. Though I don't really, to keep my primitive vibe I've got going on, I'm going to go ahead and remove his candy cane and his really red scarf. And, you know, it's one of those things, you know, sometimes you cause damage, but I'm not too worried because I want this to look like an old-timey piece. So sometimes it just is what it is, but you just work with the project. But I'm going to go ahead and glue his arm back down because his arm came off. Well, you know, it's 98 cents, so you can't expect too much. To give this mouse some age, I'm going to use the instant coffee hack, where I just am going to wet the object so that it will attract the instant coffee. It's really simple. So I'm just sprinkling it on. I no random pattern whatsoever. I'm just getting it on, and after I get it on, I'll go ahead and I'll mist it again, and that'll start dissolving that instant coffee. And then I can also use a paintbrush to help move it around, break up the little chunks of the instant coffee, and kind of like you're painting instant coffee on his little really thin layer of felt, maybe. I'm not sure what on the outer side of it, of almost a velvety feel, but yeah, I just want him. He may look a little extreme at first, but he'll dry down. Then now I'm going to go ahead and work on the shoes, and I want to paint the shoes. Yep, I'm going to change their color. I'm going to take out the laces though, and I'm going to dip those into the instant coffee so they'll kind of coordinate with the little mouse. Now for my paint color, I'm going to be using Suitcase by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint, because I want these to have an old-timey crackling look. And then once I started mixing it up, I decided that I wanted to add a little bit of the lantern just to deepen that brown up just a little bit. I would just spritz the little shoe a little bit with the mister just when the paint was a little bit too thick. I mixed it up a little bit drier because I didn't want it running down this little bit of a shoe. So now I'm just going to take the heat gun. I'm going to be very gingerly on my heat. I don't want to melt the shoe, but I want to dry the paint to be able to move on to this project. Though I'm not going to paint the inside of the shoe, I am going to paint the bottom just so it doesn't look like I have a messy paint job. And the bottom's more suede-y, so I really needed the water to help get it in that suede. Now the fun thing about milk paint is it can crackle, chip, craze, do a beautiful job. You just never know. It's unpredictable. You never know what it's going to do. And I got some crackling, some crazing going on, which is what I was hoping for. And I'm going to seal it in and richen this up with a little bit of the Jolie's black wax. Now my shoestrings will make sense. They're not dry. I don't care. They'll dry as they'll be in there. But I do love that color of them. That coffee stain did a wonderful job. Now my mouse is not completely dry either. I wasn't sure if I was going to have to cut him down. I was hoping that I didn't have to, but look at, he fits right, tucks right into that little shoe. Oh my gosh, so super cute. And see where that shoestring, I'm just tying it halfway up so I can leave some long laces, but oh, that little shoe just coordinates together so perfectly. So to cover up where his red scarf was, that's still stained red, I'm just taking a piece of this ticking that has black stripes on it. I ripped it the long way so you can see the stripes, so we'll go ahead and get that dirtied up using that coffee. I didn't even have to add any more coffee to the plate. There was plenty there. For the other shoe, I'm just using a bottle brush tree. I'm trying to find the size that will fit in there. A little bit of hot glue on the bottom. The bottom's really helpful on this one. I didn't stuff the shoe with anything. I'm just using the tree to help keep it open. And going back to my stash to see what I have that is little. This is perfect. I think it came off a little shaker box lid, but it's just the lid, and so it's a perfect fit to look like a little present next to the tree. And it has a little Christmas tree on it, so just a little bit of hot glue to keep this in place. Now for this shoe, since I stuffed that much inside the shoe, I couldn't lace the string up as far. So what I'm doing is wrapping it around it, and then I'll just tie it in a knot. And then I'm going to pull the tongue down of the shoe and give that a little bit of a paint job so you can see, and kind of glue that tongue down so you can see more of that little shaker lid. Just to tie my pieces together just a little bit more, while I have the black wax out, I'm just lightly dusting areas, especially around the little mouse's ears to give it a little bit more character. Doesn't this matchbox just scream Christmas with that green color going on? And these are just fun to decorate up. So I want to add a bit of greenery coming out of the top of it, but since it has those sides, and I want to use floral foam to hold my greenery, you can see that. So all I'm going to do is just go ahead and take a brown piece of tissue paper and wrap it up, and that way you're not seeing that green floral foam, that you're just seeing this pretty tan tissue paper. So I always like to get the most use out of one of my stems. So I usually always cut them off from the main stem that they're put on. So I just find like the stems at the bottom, give them a little nip, pull them apart, and then, and if they're too long, I can cut them down even more. But first I'm going to test them out. And I think I like that size. I think it's nice to have it flare out almost like it's a tree. And I really think that this little bear would look so cute just sitting on there like it's a little seat. I love his pop of color. It matches the tissue paper I use, but I do think I need to add a little bit of red with this little gingham ribbon just to add a pop of color. Now I am going to go ahead and hot glue him onto this little display. The nice thing about hot glue is it can be removed, so if somebody decides to take them off and use them somewhere else, that could be possible too. I'm just going to add a little bit more of the greenery around the bear. I think it's so super sweet. And then to top it off, I have this little vintage Christmas book that I've had, I don't know how long. I used to use it in my decor. And I'm not going to glue that one on because it is paper, and I think the hot glue will ruin the paper, but love that he's holding that little book. Cut my little tails down, give him a cute little feature. And I do think I need one more additive to this, and I have quite the stash of stars, y'all. I just love Rusty Crusty stars. Now this one's a little bit thicker. It's a puffy one, and I'm just going to glue it behind him. So I have a love of old sifters. The rustier, crustier, the better. Love this one. It has a little bit of red on its turning handle. Oh my goodness, I love this one. Though I wouldn't want to resell this and have the rust get off on anybody's counter or where they set it. So I'm just going to go ahead and seal their rust in using some Weather Defense metal spray. So I did 2 coats. I flipped it over so I could really get the bottom also. And other than making it maybe a tad bit shiny, it does seal that in, but it brightened up that red on that handle. This one, I want to fill it up with little vintage kids, children utensils. Not only do I have a love of those sifters, I cannot pass up these littles. There's just something about littles, y'all. So I'm just kind of picking out what I think coordinates with that red handle. I have some picked out. Not that I may use all of them, but I have them there. They were my inspiration. So I'm going to cut some of the stems off of this one to make this arrangement nice and full also. You just have to keep playing around until you love it. So even though I pulled things out, doesn't mean I don't want to waste that red handle on the masher by any means. I want you to be able to see as much of the vintage color as you possibly can and all these little rusty crusties that go together. I want to add a pop. I just think that needs a little bit of a pop. So I picked up a few of these little Santa mugs from Walmart. Though I'm not really a fan of the Goldie glasses, just a personal preference, I think I'm just going to spray paint him white. Just get him covered up so he's just a neutral. Ah, there we go. That is the pop this little muted shades needed. Love him. So now I can stick the little masher inside so you can see that red handle and I'm not wasting it. And I just keep adding greenery to everything is nice and tight. And then we're still kind of muted, so I have a couple little cookie cutters. So that'll be another pop of lightness to this. I'm just gluing it in place. Look at that little chicken cookie cutter. Oh my gosh, when I run across those, my heart just flutters. I'm happy to find those out and about. And then this 8 sign is like a hard plastic. It was something that came off something that came in one of the hauls that I got the children's utensils in, so I was happy to add that to it. So the off-white of that matches the wooden, the top wooden part of that masher that's sticking out of the Santa, and then we're just going to use a little bit of that gingham bow to tie it and tie this all together. How cute is this whole little feature? So this next one is so super simple. The hardest part is probably trying to find one of these old graters. And for me, the rusty crustier, the better. Though I love this side the best, I think this side is the other side is going to show off my decor a little bit better. So when I'm flipping around, yeah, see, it kind of shows off on the smaller grates better. But, you know, you still see that beautiful rusty crustiness on the back. So it's just super simple. I'm just going to tie this on. Yes, I have this ribbon. Now this ribbon I don't get from the Christmas section at Hobby Lobby. I actually get from the sewing section at Hobby Lobby, so they have it year round. It just reminds me of old-fashioned ticking and I just love it. So we're going to glue it in place so it doesn't slip around. I'm just using this piece as my backing, so I'll go ahead and cut off my extra ends that I don't need. So now I'm going to add a pop of greenery. I'm cutting some of the larger stems down that I had purchased wholesale from Reagan House. I know I had some interest in them, so I did put a few on my eBay store if anybody's interested. But I just love, they are so realistic. They're plastic, but my gosh, they are so realistic. I just love them. Now to make that rolling pin look like I tied it on, I'll go ahead and tie another piece of ribbon around the rolling pin and then I'll glue that on. And I think to bring this all together, I'm just going to use a few of these berries mixed in the greenery, and that'll just tie this all together. This is just a stem from the holiday section at Hobby Lobby. No, this little wooden wagon. Oh my gosh, is it not super cute? Oh, love it. I don't know if it's a handmade piece or a manufactured piece. I'm not really sure, but the paint job's a little too crisp for me. So I'm going to go ahead and take some sandpaper and just sand it down a little bit, getting those edges so the wood shows through it. And then on the other side, there's a heart that was kind of painted in there, and I'm going to see if I can sand that off. So if you watched my channel this season and last season, you already know that I have a love of bottle brush trees, and I found these at an antique mall, really reasonable. I love the color of them, but the stems are really long, so you'd really need something tall display that you're using them. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut them down because I want to put them in the back of the wagon. Now this next step probably seems a little weird that I'm putting them back onto a base, but if I cut any more off of it, it was going to start taking some of the brushes off, and I didn't want to do that, and I couldn't get it close enough to be a flat surface. And I already had these other little discs, wooden pieces I was able to pull the wire completely out of the other bottle brush trees that I can just put these on new bases. That way they're not so tall. So now I'm just going to make a cute little forest display in the back of this, kind of like a side view here that I'm going to put more decor in it, but I'm just going to use the trees as a backer. For the back two trees, I put 2 discs on them to make them taller, which is funny because I didn't want them as tall. But anyway, it was the long stems that I didn't like. To fill up that blank space, I have this little Tim Holtz Santa. Is he not too sweet? And then I picked up some bowl fillers from a primitive booth at one of our local antique malls. And I want to go ahead and use the little snowballs. Are they not too sweet? That just looked like it's snowy ground. I know I probably could have done like fake snow or glitter, but I didn't really think that went with the primitive vibe that this has going on. So I filled up the snowballs as much as I possibly could, getting them nice and tight in there. And my Santa is just sticking out way too much. He's a little bit bright. So I'm just going to use some of the Fusion's Antiquing Glaze to just brush on there and tone them down. And I think he'll match those snowballs a little bit better. Tim Holtz also had some little metal labels that had holiday sayings on them. I grabbed those and I thought this is perfect for the side. It fits perfectly on the side of this little wagon. And then we'll top it off with just a little bit of a ribbon to just add a pop of color on that handle. So I guess I just have a love a little. So look at this little drawer. I mean, it's not terribly little, but it's just a drawer. So it's short, it's got that beautiful porcelain knob on the top, and I think I could display a whole bunch of bottle brush trees in it. Oh, I just love it. Then as cute as this ornament is, I really just want to use the Santa Claus. Yeah, I was trying to check out if it was signed by the artist who created it. It was just, I don't know what that, I couldn't read the little stamp at the bottom, but I just wanted that cardstock, thicker cardboard Santa. So though I'm not going to color the back of this because I like the tone of the wood, where I'm going to sit the bottle brush trees, and this will help hide the hot glue, is I'm going to use some of the German glass glitter, a little bit of the Fusion decoupage gel. I love how this has been working this season to apply this glitter. It seems like it just sticks right to it, and I have minimal that comes off. So either it's the adhesive or it's the glitter itself. I'm not sure which because both are new this season for me using, but I just love that little pop of glistening going on this time of year. Feel like that is not too much glitter at all. So I'm just going to take sand. I'm going to remove the hanging system that they had applied onto him, take him off this base, and then I'm going to start taking the bases off a whole bunch of really tiny bottle brush trees. now I can start creating my forest, and I'm going to kind of stagger them. I'm not going to put them in a complete line. And it's funny because some of the bottle brush trees, when you add hot glue to them, it starts melting them and it looks like little spiders' legs. So it creeps you out the first couple times it does it, but after that it's all good. Now I can't say that my adhesive that I put the glitter on is completely dry, but I have not had a problem with the hot glue sticking at all, so we'll just work on it. So I'm going to add a new base. There was like a little piece of wire base on the Santa Claus, but I clipped that off, not thinking that I would need a base, but I needed a bigger base, I think, for this project than that project. So I'm just taking one of those little disc rounds that I cut off the bottle brush trees and gluing him on there so that I can glue him in place and I don't have to worry about him tipping over. So in one of my adventures out, I ran across this little tiny bag of glass Christmas ornaments. Oh, my heart. But I'm just going to add a few of them onto the ground area just to give it that pop of the color that it's needing. So this next one may be my favorite, even though I loved every single one of them I created in today's video. This was just a rare find to find a grater that was round, and my use of being able to use up some of my wooden spoons from my stash that I've had way too long. I just absolutely love to pick up wooden items. Oh, I'm drawn to them. Though, as you see, I need to create some kind of a bottom surface so they do not fall out. So I have this little round, which is like a coaster set from the unfinished area at Hobby Lobby, and I'm just using one of the coasters. And I'm going to be able, it's almost a perfect match if the grater was still perfectly round, but it has been used and abused, so it's not. But I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue that on. Then I'm going to go ahead and use some of the Fusions paint in the chocolate to cover this up. I didn't want to do black. I didn't want it to stick out. I didn't think stain would be enough to make your eye not to be drawn to it. I really just wanted to make it look like it wasn't there, that it was invisible, but it's not. But I needed something to make this more of a vase to hold those in. Just set it on a piece of wax paper so it didn't pick up any elements that are on my mat. So now I can kind of start playing with some of my wooden spoons. This is just a portion, y'all, that we're kind of coordinating colors I thought to go in here. Then I'm kind of just dry fitting them in right now. I know I'll have to hot glue them in place or they'll sway back and forth, but I want to go ahead and add my greenery in to see where I need to put the glue. Now these candy canes came off a box that I had thrifted, that I cut them off the ribbon off the box, that I didn't want the box to be like that, and I just put them in my stash, and they're perfect to fit in here. Oh, I just love them. I didn't have to make up. I'm just using something that somebody else already had. That is perfect. Now, I purchased some of these little stockings wholesale. I thought they were going to be much thicker when I bought them, but they're pretty. But I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it down and use the fabric, because I think the fabric is coordinating colors with those little candy canes. So I'm just trying to decide where am I going to make the cut. So I decided I was just going to use the thicker part. It just the way that the roundness was. The stocking, the foot part didn't really work out. It was kind of awkward once you had to cut it down. But I'm just going to fold over those edges and just get it hot glued on. So now I'll just keep working on it until I love it. I feel like I need to tie some jute around. I'm going to like triple my jute so it's a little bit thicker and there's a little bit more trendling hanging down, and the jute really matches a lot of those wooden spoons. Now next I got these little bells in a bag of vintage ornaments. Now they're tarnished, but that's okay. I can't remember if they're plastic or metal, but the color of them matches that darker wooden spoon that I put in the arrangement. So I thought, oh, perfect to tie in that darker brown. So I do want to add a little bit of wording to this, though I don't want to Cricut anything out or stamp anything on it. I actually bought a roll of ribbon a few years ago that is just all Merry Christmases. So I just cut it down and just use that one piece of Merry Christmas when the situation arises, and I love the burlap backing on it because it all kind of goes with what I'm doing here, and it fills in that void on that piece of fabric. Told you I have a love of old wood, and I think this was probably a lid off of something, and you can tell that it's missing its knob, but I had an idea. I have an idea. So I want to put a cloche on top of it, and I want to light the inside of the cloche so that hole is perfect to make a little simple display. So now I just need to find an arrangement of bottle brush trees that will fit underneath the cloche. And these ones I believe are from the Tim Holtz line also. And they're nice because they come in packages, not like the Amazon ones that can sometimes get squished. They send them in bags sometimes. I don't know why they do that. But yes, these are all Tim Holtz's products, along with these little toy soldiers, which came in 2 different packages. So there was a big and a little, and I wanted both of them because I didn't know what size I was going to use. So no snow, no glitter, no anything like that because I'm going to light it up. I'm not taking the bases off here because I like the height, especially against this toy soldier. So I'm just going to hot glue these in place. Now, after a little bit of playing with my trees to make sure that my cloche fit on, you gotta love hot glue because it's removable. Now I can put those fairy lights. I love these fairy lights this time of year, and I can string them through the hole and string them in this whole little display wrapping around those trees. And then my final thing that I'm going to do is tie a ribbon along the bottom. I'm going to cut a slat where the knob is on the top and then fold it over and just have that ribbon just flowing on the top of this, kind of tying the cloche onto the base. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I love the primitive vibe. From making your own little trees, little primitive trees. They are so cute. You can just decorate them any which way you want. We got some rusty, crusty kitchen items that are always great to make into the cutest little Christmas display. And yes, you have to have a mouse. What do you think of that Walmart 99-cent mouse? Oh my gosh, you would never know in those cute little pair of shoes. So give me a quick comment down below which of the items I made over today were your favorite. And don't forget, if you're interested in any of these items, I always do on my littles, I will do a auction on my eBay if you all are interested in. So thanks again for watching. We will see you next time, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.